Help me reach 1,000 subscribes. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every comment. Thanks. James had always believed that trust was the foundation of any relationship. He wasn't naive, but he had faith in Elizabeth, the woman he'd loved since college. Their life together had seemed ordinary from the outside. Shared laughter over morning coffee, road trips on weekends, small gestures that felt like proof of enduring love. But ordinary had its cracks, and cracks sometimes widened without warning. It started subtly. James noticed Elizabeth was spending longer hours at work, often coming home late with faint excuses about extra meetings. At first, he brushed it off. He understood her ambition. He admired it even, but the quiet whispers of doubt started echoing in his mind. He'd catch fleeting glances at her phone, the way her expression shifted when he entered the room. It was as if she were hiding a piece of herself from him, a piece he had thought belonged to their shared life. One evening, after a long day at the construction site, James returned home to find Elizabeth unusually distant. She barely spoke during dinner, her mind elsewhere, her laughter absent. He tried to connect, brushing her hair back and asking softly about her day, but she stiffened under his touch, her eyes reflecting fatigue. Or was it guilt? James couldn't tell, and that uncertainty gnawed at him. Over the next few weeks, he noticed patterns he couldn't ignore. Late-night texts, her frequent visits to a friend's place, and the subtle avoidance of physical intimacy. Each incident alone could have been innocent, but together they painted a picture James wasn't ready to confront. And yet he confronted it in the only way he knew, through patience, hoping that love, the foundation of their years together, would survive the storm. Then came the revelation he had dreaded. One afternoon, Elizabeth's phone buzzed with a notification he shouldn't have seen. A message from someone named Derek. The words were clear, unmistakable. Words of intimacy, of secrets shared in stolen moments. James felt a cold weight settle in his chest. His world tilted. Everything he believed, every small act of trust and love, suddenly seemed like a fragile illusion. If this story is gripping you, make sure to like the video so more people can experience the full journey. He didn't confront her immediately. Instead, he withdrew, pretending everything was fine while his mind raced through every memory, every conversation, trying to pinpoint when her bond had fractured beyond repair. The house felt suffocating. Every familiar corner reminded him of what had been lost. James realized that love, no matter how deep, could not anchor him when trust had been severed. Over time, he made a decision that would alter the course of both their lives. James packed his essentials quietly one night, leaving a note that simply read, "I need space to find myself. Please respect this." He didn't shout, didn't accuse. His departure was silent, a void that echoed louder than any confrontation could. That night, he drove away without a backward glance, the city lights fading behind him, carrying only the remnants of memories and the weight of betrayal. James found temporary refuge in a small town miles away. The air was different here, lighter, as if the landscape itself offered a subtle promise of renewal. He spent the days walking along quiet streets, revisiting hobbies he had abandoned, and reconnecting with friends who reminded him of the life that could still be his. Yet, the shadow of Elizabeth lingered, a reminder that closure is rarely immediate, and wounds, no matter how far you run, remain tender. Comment your thoughts below. Have you ever faced a moment where trust was completely broken? Let's discuss. It was during one of these reflective evenings, seated at a small cafe overlooking the river, that James allowed himself a sliver of acceptance. He understood now that his departure wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming dignity, acknowledging that love without respect and honesty was merely a hollow habit. His heart still carried grief, but was edged with clarity, a rare, bitter clarity that only truth can provide. And yet, life has its ironic twists. Months passed, the routine of solitude reshaping him in ways he hadn't anticipated. Then came the call that would unsettle his fragile peace, a voice trembling on the other end, familiar yet unsteady. Elizabeth, type Betrayal in the comments if this part of the story moved you. It helps us connect with others who relate. She was weeping, apologetic, regretful. The story of her affair, the loneliness that followed, and the choices she made all poured out in hurried, tearful sentences. James listened, the river of emotion stirring within him. Anger, sorrow, lingering affection. They all collided in an intricate dance, leaving him unsure whether to open the door of the past or to guard the sanctuary he had built for himself. As he hung up, James realized that this confrontation, this emotional storm, was inevitable, yet he remained calm. His journey had taught him that decisive silence often speaks louder than any plea or confession. For now, he would wait, reflect, and decide, knowing that when he steps forward again, it would be with the clarity and strength of someone who has endured the deepest fracture of trust. James didn't immediately respond to Elizabeth's tearful call. Instead, he spent the night walking along the empty streets, replaying every memory, every betrayal, and every moment of silence that had driven him away. His heart was a battlefield of anger, sadness, and a strange, cautious empathy. He knew one thing clearly. He wouldn't be the same man he had been a year ago. The next morning, Elizabeth appeared at his temporary residence. She knocked softly, hesitating as though unsure if he would even answer. When James opened the door, he saw her standing there, disheveled, tear-streaked, a fragile image of the woman he had once loved. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence was charged, heavy with unspoken apologies and the weight of choices past. Comment your thoughts. What would you do if someone you love returned after betraying your trust? Let's discuss your reactions. Elizabeth began speaking before he could intervene. Her voice trembled as she explained the void she had felt, the mistake she had made, and the regret that had consumed her since he vanished. She admitted her affair had been a fleeting escape, a mistake born of confusion, not malice. But the year apart had been harsher than she ever anticipated. Living with guilt, facing the loneliness, and realizing what she had truly lost had changed her in ways words could barely capture. James listened, feeling a storm of conflicting emotions. Part of him wanted to lash out, to remind her the pain she had caused. Another part, quieter and wiser, reminded him of the calm clarity he had discovered during his time away. His departure had not been an act of vengeance. It had been an act of survival, a reclamation of his dignity. He invited her in, and they sat across from each other at the small wooden table. The tension was palpable, yet the atmosphere carried a fragile possibility, a chance to confront the past without letting it dominate the present. Elizabeth's eyes sought forgiveness, understanding, and perhaps a path to some semblance of redemption. The video, comment your answer to this question. If you were James, would you forgive Elizabeth? And don't forget to subscribe for more real-life relationship stories that explore trust, betrayal, and redemption. James asked the questions he had held in his heart for months. Why did she stray? Did she ever truly feel the same love he had given? And most importantly, what did she expect now? Elizabeth answered honestly, revealing her remorse and the lessons she had painfully learned. Her words carried sincerity, and for the first time in a long while, James felt the subtle shift of truth piercing to the armor of betrayal. Yet he didn't rush. Forgiveness would not be immediate. Trust, once broken, requires time to rebuild. He acknowledged her feelings but set clear boundaries. Their conversation continued, moving between reflection and confrontation, each moment carefully balanced to preserve his dignity, while allowing Elizabeth to express her regrets. As hours passed, the emotional intensity softened. James realized that the power of his encounter wasn't about reconciliation. It was about understanding, closure, and reclaiming control over one's life. Elizabeth's return had tested him, but it also confirmed the strength he had gained during a year of solitude. He had faced his pain, endured his heartbreak, and emerged with a sense of calm clarity that no apology could undo, but that acknowledgement could validate. The story reached its final, shocking twist. Elizabeth admitted that the person she had been involved with had moved on long ago, leaving her in the stark reality of loneliness. James understood that her weeping at his door was not manipulation. It was a human consequence of the choices she had made. And in that moment, he felt a strange blend of pity, compassion, and empowerment. He was no longer a victim of betrayal. He was a man who had survived it, strengthened by it, and finally in control of the narrative of his own life. Before Elizabeth left, James spoke gently but firmly. He would not allow the past to dictate his future. Their paths had crossed again, but this time he was the one who set the terms. The door closed softly behind her, leaving James standing in the quiet, the weight of the year lifting slowly from his shoulders. He had faced a betrayal, weathered the emotional storm, and emerged with dignity intact. The year apart had transformed him. He no longer sought validation from others, nor did he cling to illusions of control over someone else's heart. He understood the difference between love and possession, forgiveness and reconciliation. And as the sun set on that small town, James walked into his future with quiet confidence, carrying with him the lessons of love that had faltered, a betrayal that had tested him, and the profound strength of reclaiming oneself.